Hello audience, I know, it's been a while since I last uploaded a video. I decided to save this little video for the big 100,000 subscriber special, that of course being the full week of daily video uploads I have planned, so hopefully you'll forgive my inactivity, but hey, what can you do? You know, something that a lot of people ask me is, when does Bully take place? In what time? In what era? Through what historical lens are we meant to view the game? I've seen many members of the Bully fanbase point towards various details and scenery in the game. Some will mention buildings, character clothing, cars, and other bits and pieces as indications that Bully most likely takes place in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s. Some point towards somewhat modern-day technologies like laptops and LCD monitors as an almost definitive answer that the game is meant to be set in the 2000s, or the late 90s at the very least. Others have made the argument that since Bully has a bunch of references to the year 2007, that's when the game takes place, which admittedly is a pretty good argument if you don't take all of the contradictions into account. This is a highly contested topic in the Bully fanbase, to the extent that even Jimmy Hopkins' voice actor Jerry Rosenthal has expressed uncertainty about this.
Jake Howard asks, does Jerry have an answer to the mystery of what time period Bully is based in? I just always assumed it was based in present day, so 2006? Although the school kind of has a retro feel to it. Maybe it could be like, maybe be in like the 70s or 80s, maybe. Maybe the 80s. I assumed it was present day, but now that I'm thinking about it, it definitely could have been more the 80s.
And while I could go on and provide you with more and more indicators, I don't think that any of that would even matter, simply because for every clue you find, there's bound to be another clue that points to the contrary. So, what is the answer? Well, it's simple, but it's not really something that I can tell you definitively. It's up for you to decide. You see, Bully falls into a trope that is commonly referred to as anachronism stew. Stories often confuse two or more time periods. For example, Renaissance dress may appear with 12th century crusaders in a story set in Charlemagne's empire. Imperial Roman troops might have guns. Cavemen might be fighting dinosaurs to survive. A work might combine a large numbers of anachronisms to create a timeless or surreal setting, where the exact era of the story, or the era the fictional world is supposed to be imitating, is both ambiguous and irrelevant, allowing the work's creators to freely introduce further anachronisms whenever doing so would make for a good plot or a good joke. So here's what I make of it. I don't think it's so much a matter of convenient script writing as this article would have you believe. I think it's more about allowing you, the player, to more easily identify with the game setting. So here's what I mean by this. Rockstar Games wanted you, the player, to use your imagination and apply whatever point in time you want to the game. And they did so because they wanted players of all ages to be able to identify with the main character more easily. As you might imagine, someone who grew up in the 80s might look at the game and feel like it's very reminiscent of the time they grew up in. And likewise, someone born in the 90s or 2000s may feel like the game takes place around that time. Rockstar intentionally made the game's point in time vague, and honestly, I prefer it that way. I don't know about you, but I like it when a game or a film encourages me to use my imagination and fill in the blanks. Not in terms of plot or character motivation or anything crucial like that, but in terms of the setting the characters exist within. Instead of being spoon-fed a time as soon as the game starts, Bully allows you to come to your own natural conclusion based on what you experience and see. I might do a beta video on this at some point, but here's a fun fact about the beta version of Bully. Something a lot of people don't know about Bully is that it actually went through a lot of different ideas as far as the game's anachronism stew goes. The idea was always there, the execution of it was the really difficult part. One of the initial ideas the game's developers had was to have the town of Bulworth have a very futuristic meets 1950s look to it. Garbage cans, for instance, were basically high-tech incinerators. Characters in the game would sometimes be seen putting trash in one of these garbage cans, which would then automatically close and burn whatever content had been put into it.
What are you doing? Oh, stop it! Dude! What the crap is wrong with you? Ah! Ah! Ah!
A lot of the buildings also had a very old-school white picket fence 50s feel, combined with futuristic sci-fi technology, such as big metal doors that would automatically slide open with cool sound effects whenever you got close to them. But eventually, Rockstar decided to go for a mix of all the more recent decades combined with the 2000s. All of the sci-fi-esque details were dropped while the game maintained that 20th century retro vibe it has. The game's developers basically combined the 2000s with most of the recent decades prior, hence why you'll sometimes come across all kinds of contradictory indications as for what time Bully exists in. However you may feel about this, try to keep in mind that not every piece of art, whether it be a painting, a song, a poem, a film, or even, like in this instance, a video game, has a definitive answer. Some of the art you're exposed to on a regular basis, even in gaming, is meant to be perceived in whatever way you like. It's not always the case, but sometimes, like now, it is. So, if you want to imagine Bully being set in, say, the 90s, you could. And if you feel like the game takes place in current day, which would be 2019, for now, I don't know, I guess this video is going to be very outdated in 10 years from now. But yeah, if you want to imagine it taking place in current time, you could. The game very subtly encourages you to view it through whatever somewhat recent historical lens you may choose. Obviously, going as far as to say that the game takes place in the Renaissance would be silly and just flat out wrong. But then again, anachronisms do. So here's my advice to you, my lovely audience. Instead of getting into petty arguments over when you think the game takes place, why not keep all of this in mind and ask the person you're talking to why they prefer to think that Bully is set in the time they do. The argument itself is interesting, but I find it way more enjoyable to ask other people, what point in time do you think Bully should take place in? After all, arguing about when an anachronism stew takes place is pointless, because you kind of miss the whole point when you do that. There is no definitive answer, so in my opinion, no one should ever proclaim to know when it's by design that no answer can even be found. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it to be interesting, then please give this video a thumbs up. And also, if you're a fan of Bully like me or any of the other people watching this video, then please consider sticking around. Before I end this video, I just want to give a quick thank you to you, my audience. As you might have noticed, I am now sitting at 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. It took a while, it took a few years before I got to this point, but yeah, here I am. Who the knows, audience, maybe, just maybe, YouTube will finally grant me that verification checkmark thing. I've actually been dealing with people impersonating my channel for years now, and anytime I've asked YouTube, like, hey, YouTube, you have this verification thing that I could use because people are impersonating me. You know, the whole point of you having that feature is to preclude this kind of confusion in the first place. Could I have that, please? But alas, anytime I ask them, they're just kinda like, meh. Why? Well, because I'm not sitting at 100k subs just yet. Well, now I am, YouTube. Now I am. So I don't know, maybe just grant me this one thing, you know? Like, that'd be sweet. Whatever, that's not the point of this. I want to thank you, my audience, for getting me to this point. Even if you're someone who watches me every fucking blue moon, like, oh yeah, SWEGTA, that guy, I'll check one of his videos out, maybe, we'll see. Even if you're someone who watches me that infrequently, thank you. Seriously, thank you for taking time out of your day to watch my crappy Bully videos. I guess there are people out there who like what I do. You know, it's not like this huge feat where it's like, you know, they gave me an Oscar or something. Although I guess Oscars have lost their value long since, but you know what I mean. It's not like this big deal in some people's eyes, but it means a lot to me. So yet again, thank you. And like I said, this is just the beginning of my celebration, so expect 6 more videos to be uploaded this week. I'm not gonna reveal what the videos are just yet, but yeah, there's a nice variety. I made sure to pick and choose different topics and formats that you, my audience, really seem to want to see more of. So yeah, again, expect 6 more videos to be uploaded this week. Anyway, that's it. Love you. Bye. Actually, I don't love you, but, you know, I'm grateful and I appreciate you, so I feel like that's good enough, isn't it? Take it easy.